Alright, this thing is on. Alright, here we go. Yes, guys, we are back with another tier list video because the previous selector video we had on the heroes, 5-star heroes, actually got pretty good attention. So why not, right? Why not? We just make another tier list selector video for artifacts this time around. So let's just get right into it. So just like the previous selector video, we are gonna go by S, A, B, C, D, and S being the best and D being the worst, like any other tier list. And this time we're not going to use the tier list maker website. We're gonna use Cecilia bot because my dumbass didn't know this website actually had a tier list as well. And this is such a way better layout. Starting with our S tier, we have 3 artifacts on the S tier, in my opinion. It's Wind Rider, Elbris, and Holy Sacrifice, right? I think these 3 artifacts for any players is a must-have in their account, especially at plus 30. So even if you guys only have like 1 copy or like 2 plus 15 copies, I think this is still worth to get a multiple copy of. So first of all, Wind Rider, right? This is by far, in my opinion, the best thief artifact for every thief. It just gives too much value, right? So it has an innate attack percent increase. If I'm not wrong, it's 15% at plus 30, which is huge. The plus 30 flat base stats as well. It gives like 290 something attack, if I'm not wrong, as well, which is a lot of stats, right? And the biggest thing about this artifact compared to the other thief artifacts is that it gives you stealth on a kill and increased damage on the next attack if you kill a unit before, right? So this actually has a lot of value. The stealth actually comes in really clutch as well. So if you're looking to find an artifact for your thief, it's most likely gonna be Wind Rider. There are some thieves that doesn't use Wind Rider, for example, maybe BBK and RB, right? I mean, BBK can use this as well, but most of the time, more people use another artifact, which I will go through later on. But yeah, and RB also uses Alexa's Basket instead of this. And then moving on with Elbris Ritual Sword, I think Elbris Ritual Sword is similar to Wind Rider, where it's mostly used on knights, right? Most knight DPS. So for example, in the meta currently, it's just Abyssal Yufin. I think Abyssal Yufin is the character that uses this the most. And also another knight DPS that I can think of is ML Landy. Even though she's not really in the meta right now, but she still uses this artifact for sure. So this is definitely worth as well. And I would say this artifact is very future proof as well. I think in the future, maybe some other knights that does damage also can use this artifact, right? So I think this is still a really good artifact for knights. And speaking of knight artifacts, we have another knight artifact on the S tier, which is Holy Sacrifice. I think this artifact is so clutch sometimes, especially on units like Crow, Blue Crow, or Mod, right? I think this is probably the best artifact for Mod in my opinion, because I think there's no other artifacts that come close to how clutch this is for Mod, right? For someone like Mod. So for example, let me give you a scenario, right? Let's say in RTA or like Arena, okay, most likely RTA, you only pick Mod into units that counter, right? So the idea is they want to get rid of Mod so that their counter units can work. And since their priority target is Mod, this Holy Sacrifice artifact inconveniences them because you have to kill him twice, right? So he can come back and actually just do his own thing. S3, fear them, you know? Can't counter or anything. So yeah, Holy Sac is really the best artifact for Mod, and other knights such as like Crow or even ML Senya, right? But other than these 2 knight artifacts, I would say that the other best knight artifacts is 4 stars. So they're not really gonna be in this tier list for now. But yeah, there we have our S tier, right? So moving on to our A tier now, we have Euberius, Marcellus, Glutton, Sigurd Scythe, Golden Rose, Shepherd the Hollow, Alexa's Basket, and Abyssal Crown. I actually moved up Abyssal Crown from B tier because I think this artifact actually can win you some games just by proccing it. So it's actually kind of crazy. But let's just start with Euberius first. So Euberius, as you all know, was the go-to artifact for Fire Huayang last time back in the days, but now Fire Huayang is not a thing. And since Fire Huayang is not a thing anymore, now we have a new user that can use Euberius too, which is Amiki, right? And Amiki is a 3-star, everyone has her, so you definitely want this artifact for her as well. This is the best artifact for her. I don't think there's any other artifact that can be used for Amiki, so this is definitely up there for her as well. This artifact can also be used by ML Pera, right? So if you think 1 copy is enough, no, you're kind of not right. ML Pera actually uses this as well. Some would argue that Sweet Miracle is better for ML Pera because of how she can utilize a cleanse for her whole team. But most of the time, I think Euberius is still generally better because it makes her a DPS. It turns her into a DPS and you don't really have to draft a DPS with ML Pera anymore. So yeah, this artifact is still highly recommended. And then moving on, we have Merciless Glutton. This is Yufin's artifact, if I'm not wrong. I only put this artifact in A tier because this is the best DPS artifact for any DPS warrior. So for example, like Jekko, Green Yufin, MLTU, right? This is the best artifact for them. There's no other artifact that comes close to this in terms of the warrior class for DPS. So I'll recommend this for sure because it increases your damage, gives CR combat readiness if you kill the target, right? So this is really good for them. And then moving on to Sigurd Scythe and Golden Rose. These two are generally the same artifact, but Sigurd Scythe actually is better for most characters, right? So Sigurd Scythe, I would prioritize this over Golden Rose, but if you have units that utilizes Golden Rose skill effect better, which is, if I'm not wrong, attack percent, this gives attack percent, and this gives damage dealt. So if you have a unit that uses attack more than HP, you can use the Golden Rose over Sigurd Scythe, but most of the time, I think Sigurd Scythe is the go-to for sure. But yeah, I think Sigurd Scythe is up here because it is a very future-proof artifact as well. But currently in the meta, I don't think there are much warriors that uses this because not much warriors are actually in the meta right now. If you were to ask me, the only units I can think of that use Sigurd Scythe are like what? ML Bellona, ML Ken, maybe Dilibat. I think Dilibat, yeah, maybe Dilibat. But I think Dilibat utilizes Golden Rose better. So yeah. Wait, is there any more? Fuck, it's fucking maintenance, I can't check. Wait, let me just do a quick fact check. Oh, Huayang, right, Huayang, right. I think the only warrior that is currently in the meta that uses Sigurd Scythe really well is just Bystander Huayang, right? I think she's the only character that uses this a lot. So if you have her, if you have ML Huayang and you plan to use an artifact for her, or you plan to build her, Sigurd Scythe is the one to go for, right? So yeah. And then next up, we have Shepherd of the Hollow. This artifact, if you watch my E7WC games, holy shit, this artifact is so clutch, man. But other than that, other than the RNG factor, I think this is also the best artifact for BBK because the evasion is just huge sometimes, like my games, and the damage increase is also really good, right? But other than BBK, stuff like Aidin, stuff like both Aidins, right? The Light Aidin and Dark Aidin, and then stuff like MLV, Moonlight Violet, Remnant Violet. They really use this artifact as well. It just gives them the best damage increase along with the evasion that they need, right? Yeah, if you plan to play evasion characters, it's the artifact to choose for them as well. And then next you have Alexa's Basket. So this artifact, I would recommend if you are planning to play Cleave or if you have an RB without an artifact. So this is basically the best artifact for RB, but other than RB, I would say maybe like Green Sid, a fast Kisei, you know, stuff like that, right? Thieves that are fast but don't have reliable attack buffer. So any thief along those lines will work for this. Yeah, any thieves along those lines will definitely want to use Alexas as well. Maybe even like opener ML Celine, right? You could use this as well. And then moving on, Abyssal, right? Like I said, this artifact can really change games. So if you are a Hasedi player, right? A slow player, I think Hasedi on Abyssal Crown is by far the most RNG artifact, the most RNG reliant game because a stun on turn 1 can just literally win you games. But yeah, other than Hasedi, I think without a Hasedi matchup, maybe you can go put this artifact on like Archdemon Shadow, right? ADS, Ameru, whatever you call it. Oh, but not even ADS. You can actually focus this artifact on Degen Polities as well. Which brings me back to my previous video, right? Because I ranked Polities actually at like a really high rank. I don't remember S or A, but yeah, it's really highly ranked up. So Abyssal Crown for sure for Degen Polities. Especially with this meta, right? Like Amit Cleavers, Abyssal Crown Polities will actually come in clutch. One stun on their DPS or Amit, boom, done. The game's settled, right? The game's won. But yeah, that does it for the A tier. Now moving on to the B tier. Oh yeah, just a side note, B tier doesn't really mean that they are bad or they are like just better than C tier or anything. I think they are still good, but compared to the S and A tier, they are like one level below, right? So they are still generally good here. Don't get me wrong. So for our B tier, we have like a row and 4 artifacts here. Let me just go through quickly. The Rise of a Monarch. This artifact, if you have ML F, I think it's the best for her. if your MLNF is a DPS one. If it's an Aureus tank one on protection set, then it's just Aureus, right? But other than that, I think this is the best for MLNF. Any other knights probably wouldn't want to use this. I only put her here because it's the best for MLNF and she's quite the meta unit right now. So, and then Eligos artifact. Eligos is still a decent pick in a meta right now, so I'll put his artifact up here. If you have Eligos but you don't have his artifact, this is probably the one you want to get for Eligos, right? So it's an okay artifact, but only Eligos uses this artifact, so pick this artifact at your own risk, right? Okay, honestly, this probably shouldn't be in B tier. This probably should be in C tier. Yeah, this probably should be in C tier. Never mind. I take back my words. But yeah, same thing, right? This can only be used for Eligos. I don't think there's any other rangers that really want this artifact. So this is for Eligos only. But yeah, C tier. C tier. Final verdict. So we have Best Position next. This artifact is really good for knights that are not on Aureus and not on damage. So basically they're like utility knights, right? So for example, let's say ML Senya, A Tywin, LRK potentially. Maybe if you guys are still playing the specialty change Arrowwell, this was the go-to artifact for her as well last time. But yeah, units like that, right? They use special and Felicia because sometimes the immunity for the backline unit comes in clutch. And then we have Celestine. Right now, Celestine is not used as much, but if you still run a counter Blood Moon Haze that is not on Proof of Valor, Celestine is the best artifact for him. And right now, since ARAM just came out recently, I think some slower players like to go like a slow counter tanky ARAM, right? For like her steady matchups or like just turn 2 in general. I think Celestine is one of the best artifacts for her as well if you don't have Guardian Ice Crystals, which is this artifact right here. This Guardian Ice Crystals is the best Soul Eater artifact in my opinion. But since it's a limited artifact, I think some players might not have it. So Celestine might be a good alternative to Guardian Ice Crystals if you want to build like a slow ARAM or anything like that. And then we went with Durando. I think Durando is a pretty good artifact for Designer Lilibet if you have a generally slow one. Because once they hit you, you gain CR push, right? And then since you're slow, you want to make sure you cut their team. Durando gives you the extra CR boost that you need as well. And other than Lilibet, I think maybe Dark Corvus can use this right now. I currently use this on my Dark Corvus. I rarely pick Dark Corvus because of like the current meta, right? But when I do pick him, somehow, somewhere, I think Durando is also pretty good. For RTA, just for RTA, right? Just for RTA. If you were to use like Dark Corvus in Guild War, I'm pretty sure this Tone of the Blue Rose right here, bottom right corner, is way better for Dark Corvus in like Guild War because it gives you the extra damage and the soul burn as well. So yeah. And then moving on, we have Doctor's Bag. I think Doctor's Bag kind of fell off recently, but it's still a decent artifact. You can use it on units like maybe even ARAM, right? Maybe even ARAM on her S2, it cleanses. Because ARAM doesn't have a cleanse in her kit. So maybe some players want a cleanse on the ARAM kit, right? So maybe they just slam Doctor's Bag on her. But other than ARAM, maybe Blue Elena also works. A fast Blue Elena. Or even B-Dom, right? Even B-Dom. And then moving on with Etika Scepter. I think Etika Scepter is only decent for Tank Luna right now that doesn't use book, right? So most people run this on Tank Luna when they are fighting slower players and then they use Luna as like their main DPS. It actually works because you can, if you're lucky enough, this can actually proc like back to back and you can S2 on Luna like non-stop, right? So it's actually a pretty decent artifact for Tank Luna. But other than Luna, I think that's about it. Yeah, other than Luna, probably no one else. Yeah. Other than Luna, there's probably no one else that uses this. So, and next one we have Idol Shear. This Idol Shear artifact is pretty okay, I would say. It only works a few times. What I mean by that is because it's a cheese artifact, right? So most people actually run this right now on either Ruel or Arcades, right? Ruel is not really played that much, so we don't really care about her. But yeah, most of the time it's Arcades. If you don't have Guardian Ice Crystals or if you don't want to use Bastion of Hope on Arcades, then I think Idol Shear is a go-to artifact. Because sometimes people draft Arcades with like Flan or any DPS unit that is naturally fast into Zeo, right? So Zeo has to always target the Arcades because she will cut their team. Since Zeo S3s onto Arcades, it will also push up the highest attack unit when they hit Arcades, and it might just cut their team as well. So it's a cheese artifact for RTA right now. If you wanna go for that tag, you can, but I wouldn't really recommend it because it's a very specific situation, right? You don't really need this most of the time. And then next we have Homage to Tarman. This is basically the budget version of Guardian Ice Crystals. If you need a Soul Weaver that uses Guardian Ice Crystals but you don't have it, you can use this artifact. Instead of a healing, it gives you barrier instead, right? So it's not the worst, but it's not the best as well. And next we have Indestructible Gators. I think you should only pick this artifact if you are planning to play Holiday You Fiend as like a DPS on your team. Cause sometimes you want to anti cleave and then you realize you don't have a DPS on your team, right? Maybe you go like 4 knights or like 3 knights with Degen Poly or something like that. Or they ban your only other DPS and then you have Holiday You Fiend. Having this artifact on her actually makes her like a decent DPS cause of her burns, right? So yeah, it's only for Holiday You Fiend. But I have to bring up this PvE aspect for this artifact. Because this artifact is actually really good for some PvE scenarios. Maybe Ancient Inheritance. Okay, but who cares about Ancient Inheritance right now? I think the most important thing about the PvE aspect of this artifact right now is the Trial of Constellations, right? Trial of Constellations actually has a team comp that relies on this artifact to do burn damage for like the Earth boss. So yeah, this is up here for a reason as well. And then next we have Noble Oath. I think Noble Oath is only in the B tier because of Arunka, right? So if you run out of POVs or you know you don't have a good Rocket Punch or MOAS for Arunka, I think Noble Oath is the next best option for Arunka. I actually ran this Noble Oath artifact for a period of time on my protection set Arunka, and it actually worked pretty well. It actually worked pretty well for the period I used it for, because the defense and the ER that she gains from being at low HP actually came in really clutch and won me some games. But now I changed mine to counter set because I prefer my anchor on my team to be a DPS. So yeah, I changed it back to Rocket Punch. And next we have Renewed Will. I think this artifact you should only pick if you are a cleaver. That's it. That's literally it. If you plan to cleave with like a Fire Lady card or Briar Witch, then you can take this artifact. But other than that, you shouldn't take this artifact. This is very cleave oriented, right? And you have to have this as plus 30 as well. So if you were to select this, get ready to like, I don't know, bottle it or choose it from the other selectors as well. But yeah, this requires a lot of investment. Not recommend it if you are not cleaving like me. And next we have Sacred Tree Branch. This is up here because of ML Shun, right? With DDR still being a thing, not really a big thing anymore, but still a thing, ML Sharon is still a decent answer into him. So ML Sharon also wants to use this artifact, especially if you are like counter aggroing them, right? And not only DDR, right? ML Sharon is actually really good into stuff like mod as well, because mod fierce. So you can use this on ML Sharon. It pushes your DPS up and also gives you extra effectiveness, right? But yeah, not even mod or DDR, right? You can use her as a defense breaker and like a bridge as well, just because she can. But you have to build her at like a decent speed and a high effectiveness, right? So depending on your build, you probably want to go this artifact. Next, you have Samsara Pyramids. I think this artifact is probably the budget version of Sigurd Scythe and Golden Rose, just because it gives you damage increase and damage mitigation, right? Instead of like healing from this two artifact, it gives you damage mitigation instead. So it's basically like 1 or 2 levels down from Sigurd Scythe and Golden Rose. And since Sigurd Scythe and Golden Rose is not a limited artifact, you can choose these two over this. I think this most likely wouldn't get chosen. But yeah, because of its damage mitigation and its damage increase, it's on the B tier for sure. And then next you have Selene artifact. I think this is good for Green Selene, that's about it. Maybe you can go for like a cheese build on ML Selene. You build like a really fast ML Selene, not fast enough to raise, but fast enough to cut after a CR push, right? So maybe this also works for ML Selene. Other than that, maybe a niche build for Winter, Espa Winter. You know, if anyone is a diehard Winter fan, Espa fan who wants to use Winter, yeah, you can use this. I think this works pretty well on Winter as well, but like, who cares about Winter? She kind of fell off. And next we have Snow Crystal. I think Snow Crystal is a good artifact for Holiday You Fiend as well. A decent artifact. Like if you don't want to use Guide to a Decision for some reason, the guild artifact, you could use Snow Crystal, right? She gains CR push and then potentially cleanse and push your team ahead. But yeah, other than that, not much warriors use this. Spear of Purification. Yeah, let me just move this down to C tier as well. I don't know why this is on B tier, but let me just go through this artifact when I get to it. But yeah, that should be on C tier. Anyways, next we have Sword of Summer Twilight. I think this is the next best artifact for thieves, for DPS thieves, if you don't have Wind Rider, if you don't have Alexa's Basket. Or if your Symbol of Unity, the artifact that's from Guild Shop, right, is already used on someone else. But note that this is only for AoE thieves, right? So the current thief that I have this on is Green Wildred. I think Green Wildred utilizes this the best because most of his attacks are AoE. If you don't want to use this on Green Wildred, another option would be maybe Run, right? Maybe Run. Of course, Run used to be on RNL last time. Now that Run is not gonna benefit from RNL due to the changes they made, I think the next best artifact is sort of Summer Twilight if you're gonna run like a DPS run. So yeah, and next you have Time Meta. I think Time Meta is a future-proof mage DPS artifact. Like other than Target Health, right? If you don't want Target Health, you want like a damage artifact for mage is Time Meta. Time Meta is the next best. So yeah, Time Meta is up here for that reason. But if you want some examples that can use Time Meta now instead of a Target Health, for myself, I use this on Green Ludwig. I think that's all, right? That's all. Green Ludwig. Green Ludwig is the best user for this right now. Any other mage in the current meta probably wants Book, because Book is just crazy, right? Soban is just too strong in this game. And then next we have Umbral Keystones. This artifact is only up here because of ML Teneria. Legit only for ML Teneria. And some, I don't know, Fumir players who still believe that Fumir is strong. But yeah, Umbral Keystones. This artifact is so good for fast Teneria. If you are planning to play aggro or cleave, putting this on Teneria really makes your game so much easier, because you don't actually have to rely on CR push, right? She actually gains a free CR push just from this artifact. And also on top of that, it gives 10% effectiveness to your allies. So, you know, depending on what kind of team comp you face, maybe an ER team comp, the effectiveness might come in clutch. And next you have Bloodstone. I think Bloodstone is only up here because of counter flan players. Yeah, counter flan players. I think counter flan only uses Bloodstone, right? And then there are probably no other rangers that uses this as of the current meta. But I put this up here not just because of the flan, but because of the PvE aspect as well. I think this for PvE, Bloodstone is really important for some of the fights, some of the team comps. I'm not sure exactly which team comp, but I'm pretty sure I have used this Bloodstone artifact for like a lot of PvE content. I don't remember, but yeah, it's up there. And yes, that concludes the B tier, right? So next you have C tier. I won't go through C and D tier too much. I'll just go through like the important ones. So this one, like I said, is only for Eligos. No other rangers use this. Spear of Purification. I think it's only a decent artifact for Blue Teiyu, fast Blue Teiyu that cheeses maybe ML Poly drafts. But other than that, not really. It's a decent artifact for ML Kawazu as well, if you plan to use him in like some specific scenarios. Other than that, not really. Misha, this artifact was a decent artifact last time for like Briar Witch against all the evasion characters. But now I think most rangers want Guiding Light, right? Or like Wall of Order. Like it also loses to Symbol of Unity, because Symbol of Unity gives more damage, gives the same hit chance, and it's like a free artifact technically, right? Technically free artifact. Whereas Misha, you have to get like a max copy of it and it's 5 stars. And then Dark Noctis, currently it's the artifact to use for one-shot Robin in Rift. And but that's the PvE aspect, right? For PvP, it's just ML Pebble. For now, it's just ML Pebble. And ML Pebble in the current meta is not that good anymore, so it's in C tier for a reason. But since the balance patch is coming out soon, it's going live in a week. Like, note that this is this tier list is made on 31st July, right? So the balance patch is actually gonna come out in a week or so. And in that balance patch, ML Pebble is gonna get a buff. So who knows, this might be moved up to B or A tier depending on how good Pebble will become. But for now, it's in C tier. And then Little Queen's Huge Crown. It was one of the good artifacts for Huayang last time, like Raid Huayang last time, but now it is not really that good anymore. Bloody Rose, only used for effectiveness 0. If you really want to make sure he lands his S3 on any character. But other than that, Target House is still the better artifact for 0. Circus Fantasia. I think the only 2 warriors that can use Circus Fantasia is Conqueror Lilias, effectiveness Conqueror Lilias, or effectiveness Judge Kisei. Right, that's about it. I think that's about it. But yeah, most of the time, Circus Fantasia won't be used for those 2 characters anyways, because I think most people would rather build a damage build, rather go a damage build for Judge Kisei, and for Conqueror, they would most likely go Sweet Miracle, right? And next we have Dub. We have all these. I'm not gonna go through all this because this is like useless. This is used for Used to counter blue Loa back in the days on Lilias, on red Lilias, but they don't exist anymore. Bird's Eye View, I currently use this on my ARAM just because I use her as a cleave bridge and it gives me the souls, so yeah. WHD Crescent, not that good anymore. I think it's currently used for what, Kayron? Or like some counter Tory shit, right? Some counter Tory shenanigans. But yeah, not that good anymore. Dignus Orb, useless. Candle. Candle is decent if you were to build like a fast, full effectiveness monk. Monk being Narco, right? And then you want to make sure you can land defense break, cleave their whole team or some shit. But generally not used anymore. Gobbler Oath, only blue Para, last tea time, not that good anymore. Just go time meta. Manicas, Y, RNL, nerfed, not that good anymore. Some people go like RNL Genoa for some cheese. That's about it. Wrath of Marilis, a good PV artifact for healing. Not really good for PvP. Shimadra used to be good back in the days for the ER comms with Make Chloe. But Make Chloe is kind of useless unit right now. If you want to go like a ER com, just play Aria, right? Just play ML Aria. So yeah. Salaba, a good PV artifact. Good PV artifact. But for PvP, not really. Kind of useless. They rarely hit us. They rarely hit us Soul Weavers anyway. That's a records. Some decent healing, but not good for PvP. Unseen Observer. It's good for Blue Flan last time, but Blue Flan kind of a dead unit right now. The only place where you can use this is in aggro comp with ML Poly, right? ML Poly gains the extra CR push and then the Soban as well for your team. I currently use this on my ML Poly, but it's not worth a selector, so I'll put it on C tier. Violet Talisman, evasion characters, probably better than MLDB and the Shepherd of Hollow if you want to drag out the game. Spatial Temporal Fan, some cheese build as well if you want to prevent your DPS from getting targeted with like a non-attack skill opener, for example ML Poly. If you go ML Poly and like BBK, you don't want their Veronica to target your BBK, you could go this, hide your BBK. But not really a good artifact in general. But yeah, that concludes the C tier. And then D tier onwards is basically why. Like why would you ever pick this, right? Trash, trash, trash. Yeah, all these are basically like not good for PvP at all. Maybe some I will go through Alabastron, some Thief that wants some effectiveness. Probably not. Hero of Life, really good Ancient Inheritance artifact, so don't sleep on this. Other than that, I think all these are trash for PvP at least. Spirit's Breath used to be a pretty good artifact for AOL last time, when she was like a meta unit. Now not really. Song of Stars, really good for PvE, but not for PvP. And yeah, I think that concludes the tier list. I don't think I missed out anything because they are either limited, given for free during a period of time, guild artifact, or just not in the selected, right? Like for example, the Firecross artifact and the Robin's artifact. Yeah, these two are not in the selector. But yeah, I think that concludes the artifact tier list. I think this video might be longer than the 5-star hero selector video, but hopefully you find this useful, right? Hopefully you guys find this that is useful and helps you to make decisions to select your artifact. But yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to, just drop in the comments below. I will reply for sure. Don't worry about it. Or you can just ask me in my Discord or whenever I'm streaming, right? Links are in the description below. And yeah, goodbye. Thanks for watching, man. Appreciate it.